Well, a very, very good morning to you again if you've just tuned in. Coming to you live from the Sandton Convention Centre. This is home to the South African Investment Summit that is taking place today, and there is such a buzz in this room I can't begin to tell you. There are just people that are coming in their droves. I have been told, keeping it still to that 1,000-member participation in here. We do know that we heard from the President that venues can now accommodate up to 50% as long as you show a proof of vaccination or a negative PCR test. But the presidency deciding to keep it at the original plan of having the invited guests. But the reality is that there is a host of massive companies within South Africa that are here showing support, and they are on display here showing what the country has to offer. But what I am hearing, and my guest is going to speak a little bit more about that, is also the small businesses that are on display here, which is so important. And I'm so glad that a platform has been given to smaller businesses to showcase and get investment into it as well. Well, as I say, I was expecting him. He is here, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Ebrahim Patel. So nice to see you. Welcome to Morning Live and to the SABC's beautiful little setup we got here going.
Well, good morning to you, Leanne, and to all the viewers. And it's great to be here. I mean, you can feel the buzz in the place and investors arriving. People have come from all over the world. We've got delegates from more than 40 countries, as well, of course, many South African business people here, large businesses, small businesses, women-owned businesses, youth-owned businesses. We're getting a slice of South Africa here this morning.
Yeah, which is so important, and also to be seeing people coming up and waking up and feeling that the economy is starting to really wake up, because that's the sense we need, that's the feeling we need. It's been a tough 2 years for this country.
Indeed, so today is really about back to work. The COVID pandemic has caused enormous damage to the South African economy. It's done so as a result of the disruption in global supply chains. It's also done so as a result of loss of confidence, consumers, businesses, and the important news over the last year and a half has been vaccines. It's bringing science and innovation to play, and more South Africans are getting vaccinated. There's a return of business confidence. Investors are now looking at the world and saying, the world is a rough place. And South Africa seems to be a place positioned to grow very strongly. South Africa has now embraced the idea of African integration. A big part of our work is building this massive African market. And many of those who are flying into South Africa for this conference are coming here to look at the prospects for growth on the continent. So I think it's a key moment to signal to the world that we're open for business, and to signal to South Africans that it's getting back to work completely. Of course, we still need to social distance and do the necessary things to ensure that people stay safe. But there's a renewed sense out there now that production can get back to the high points that we've had in the past, and indeed we can exceed those. Today at the event will be a big part of it will be a focus on what are the regulatory environments that are required to boost growth. What do we need to do about the energy challenge? And a big storyline will come from investors in the energy sector, people who say we're going to commit significant sums of money to get South Africa to plug its energy gap. But it's also an opportunity to showcase some of our successes. Many South Africans may not know this, but over the last number of months, in the last 6 months, we've launched not only Africa's first commercial scale hybrid vehicle, so that's a car that uses both internal combustion engine and an electric motor, but we've also opened Africa's first ever anesthetic production plant. So what we need in our hospitals, we've imported in the past, we can now produce that locally. And indeed, Leanne, to such a standard that we are exporting that now to the rest of the world.
Tell me more about this car. Is this a wholly assembled, made car here in the country?
Indeed, it's completely assembled in South Africa. It's the Corolla Cross vehicle, and it has about 620 components that are manufactured in South Africa, and then the entire car is assembled in eThekwini. It has two models. It's got the normal traditional internal combustion engine, and then it has a hybrid. You're seeing more of it on South African roads, and it's us embracing the opportunities that come from green industrialization. From saying climate change is, on the one hand, an enormous challenge for humanity. We've got to adjust to the reality that if we don't change our model of growth, the world will be left a wasteland for future generations. Indeed. But there's also an opportunity. Technology and innovation means people come up with new ideas, and electric vehicles is really the vehicles of the future.
Yeah, they certainly are, but I mean the fact that we can manufacture, almost entirely manufacture the car here, but then we send it away and then we buy it back. When are we making our own car? When are we making our own cell phones? When are we bringing the manufacturing here? Because it seems like we've got the skills, we have the ability to do it, and yet we do it for others, but we don't do it for ourselves.
I think, Leanne, you're absolutely right, that we've managed to get production going in South Africa. And that production is both for our own market and for the rest of the world. But what we need to do now is bring more innovation in, that we also invent new products, so that the entire value chain from conception through to production and export is captured by South Africa, that we are able to get the value in our local economy. And there's some great success stories there, where South African innovators are in fact trailblazers, and they're producing new products that are going out there in the world. But what we need to do is to do that on scale. One of our companies, Afrigen, they've essentially reverse engineered the technology around the mRNA vaccine, and if successful, and they're going through trials now, will represent an African-designed vaccine and an African-produced vaccine. So not just taking the ideas from the rest of the world, but contributing ideas to the world of production and the world of innovation.
So let's look at, I mean, obviously we've had a lot of commitments, and those are those business commitments where we're saying, I did explain it to viewers a bit earlier, that the president had in 2018 said that within 5 years he wanted to achieve 1.2 trillion rand in investment. He's 64% there. But I want to know about this 64%. Where is it? Have these commitments that were made then come to fruition? Is that investment here in the country? Is it all happening?
Leanne, it's happening, and it's happening increasingly on scale. And let me use an example. In 2018, Mercedes-Benz made an announcement of 10 billion rand that they would put into modernizing their plant in Buffalo City in the Eastern Cape. And they said that they're going to be putting a bid in globally in Mercedes-Benz to produce the car locally. Well, last year I was very happy to go through to Buffalo City and to be there on the production line when the first new C-Class Mercedes-Benz rolled off that production line. And it's now produced in only one of 3 locations globally, in Bremen in Germany, in Beijing in China, and in Buffalo City in South Africa. It's created a significant number of additional jobs, not just in the production plant, but also the suppliers of components and so on. So there's an illustration of an announcement being made in the investment conference, and over the period from 2018 to 2021, the company retools, sets up its operations, and then we see the fruit of that. Over the period, we've got now 774 billion rand that has been pledged before today's pledges are counted. And of those, 40% of them have already been translated into spending. In other words, the machinery have been bought, or factories have been opened, or mine shafts have been sunk. So we're not only measuring the pledges that are made, but also the extent to which it's implemented. And there we're doing well. Today, of course, we'll have a number of additional pledges that are made.
Yeah, I see that. I see that's on the agenda. Lots of pledges that will be made. Minister, I've got like a minute left, unfortunately, before I say goodbye to SABC2 viewers. I hear you, and I hear that these commitments are there. But where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? People are waking up starving because there are no jobs, and they hear about all these investments and this money that's coming in, and we're going to make it better, but they're not feeling it. When are South Africans going to feel these investments you talk about?
I think we will see now a growth in jobs because investment always precedes jobs. It's when the money is sunk into a factory that you create the basis for the employment of more people. So I'm confident as we get our investment numbers up, we'll also see a growth in jobs in those businesses. And indeed, when we opened some of the new factories that have been launched as a result of the commitments made at the investment conference, we met young workers, people who were unemployed, who had lost hope. When I went to the Aspen factory in Gqeberha, I met young South Africans who had degrees and were looking for work. And when this factory opened, it provided an opportunity for them to work in a state-of-the-art place. So I think South Africans are right to be looking for the jobs bounce, the jobs benefit that comes from investment, and that will be a big part of our focus in the period ahead.
All right, we've got to leave it there. Minister, thanks very much for talking to us. Good luck with today. We really are. We are hoping we see significant things come out of this particular day. It's just the start opening. I know you're going to be introducing the beginning of it, and then we'll hear from the President a little bit later on this morning. We'll be taking that live. Minister, thank you very, very much for being with us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to the viewers also seeing what is happening today through your crossovers.
Can't wait. And to hear those pledges from a host of different organizations, companies that are pledging into investing into South Africa. Right, we got more after 8, but we got to say goodbye to our SABC 2 viewers at this point. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.